After all this time, you'd think I've covered all there was to cover with the Hogan Knows Best brand. And you'd almost be right. But as it turns out, there was one more, somewhat unofficial installment in that series. Back before there even was a Knows Best, but when there was still a whole lot of Hogans. You see, the year before the Hogans got their own reality show, we saw what was pretty much a pitch and backdoor pilot of this series on the short-lived show Inside Out, which, from what I can tell, was supposed to be a look into the lives of major musicians. So naturally, they brought in maybe the greatest musician. I'm talking about the lead singer of the Wrestling Boot Band, the founding father of Ruckus, and maybe, most notably, almost the bass player for both Metallica and the Rolling Stones. I'm talking, of course, about Hulk Hogan. Sarcasm aside, this episode feels very out of place when compared to the rest in its run, as this is the only episode not to feature and focus on someone in the music industry, but instead the father of someone trying to break into the music industry. In case you're wondering, this seems like a clickbait cash grab. I don't know if it's gonna live up to the Knows Best name. Let me assure you, two things can be true. There are some wild and ridiculous things done, said, and claimed in this one-off. Needless to say, the Hulk's humbleness is on full display throughout, which is why he introduces himself like this.
Shake the hand that shook the world, brother.
I think one of the strangest things about this is just how many times Hulk has to bring up Andre the Giant. Now, a couple things to keep in mind here. Hogan slammed Andre in 1987, Andre the Giant died in 1993, and this show was shot in 2004. So Hogan must be very proud of this accomplishment. Every time Hogan brings the Giant up, it's never in an endearing way of paying tribute to a past friend. It's in a means of putting himself over through putting down a dead coworker.
I slammed Andre the Giant, won more titles, and made more money than any other wrestler in the world. These yellow boots here were the last pair of boots that I ever wrestled Andre the Giant in. That is more important than slamming Andre the Giant. You know, the only thing scarier than wrestling a mean, drunk giant.
Okay, but he wasn't drunk in storyline. He was a drunk in real life. Come on, Hulk, you didn't need to say all of that. I don't think any of this is malicious on the Hulkster's behalf. I just think that he's so blinded by Hulkamania that everything outside of it is really just fair game in lending to his own legacy. When I said that this was a prequel to Hogan Knows Best, I mean it. It stars the whole family from the show. And while Brooke, Hulk, and Linda barely look like they've aged a day between this and the sequel shows, Nick looks like this. This is only 1 year before Hogan Knows Best, so it looks like he was saying his prayers and taking his vitamins. The show also features small appearances from Hulk's at the time best buddies, two characters who would become notable names on those later shows, Bubba the Love Sponge and Brian Knobbs. And they're not alone, because Ashley, Brooke's buddy who would later become her future roommate on Brooke Knows Best, is also here. Looking past the cast, this episode also contains a lot of the awful elements from those later shows. We got the same old Hogan creepiness that crept its way into every season of the actual show as well. Hulk talks about Brooke using a video camera to start filming herself, and he notes that he had to check the tapes to, and these are his words here,
And she started getting an old video camera and filming herself singing and dancing. I wanted to make sure she wasn't doing anything freaky, so.
Suspicious.
Hulk also talks in depth about Brooke's dating life, and how she's not allowed to have one.
You know, from about 15 to 25, where she's not going to have any boyfriends. So once we get beyond that whole situation, then she'll be free to go, maybe.
And he also does things like this.
15, looking like a jelly bean.
One of the problems with Brooke is she reads older than 15. When she gets on stage, she looks like a Victoria's Secret model or some stripper.
That's kind of a weird thing to say about your own kid, ain't it? Things get worse when Hogan has his daughter dance for him while he watches and drinks. That might sound a little bit worse than it is, but the fact that that is a legitimate statement I can make with very little hyperbole is, quite frankly, frightening.
My dad is very protective of me because I'm his little girl.
You got pink underwear hanging out. Right here. That hole. Oh, don't do that.
Okay guys, I have more than enough clips for a compilation, and this is only a 42-minute event. You can stop now. Suffice it to say, I think Jim Morrison had it right when he said, people are strange. Especially these people. While Hulk may accidentally be a little creepy with his daughter, some of his concerns are validated when grown men are shown being intentionally creepy with his daughter.
I asked if Brooke would like to join me for dinner tomorrow night. I'm not scared of the Hulk. I don't think he can actually touch me legally.
Aside from all that strangeness, this also offers up new layers of weird. Some bizarre details about the Hogan's lives that I don't think have ever been covered elsewhere. So let's go over them. Hulk admits to continually killing his pets by overfeeding his fish, just because he loves them so much. His family makes mention that he loves them so much that he keeps them frozen in the freezer after they die. Brooke even plays with these fish corpses and acts like they're toys. Gross! This show isn't just as creepy as those other shows, it even carries those shows' signature hindsight horrors, as Hulk talks highly of his daughter's new talent manager, Lou Pearlman, the man who made NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys. Or more accurately, the man who made millions off of NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys. He was sued by just about every singer who ever worked underneath him. As a matter of fact, the very sizable man plays a very sizable part in this episode. He even recruits Rich Cronin of LFO fame to help Brooke work on a song. It should be noted that out of everyone who has ever held a grudge against Lou, Rich Cronin has alleged far worse allegations against him. As you can imagine, when the Hulkster hears that another man is spending time with his daughter, that doesn't work for him, brother.
How old is Rich?
How old are you? 28.
You know Brooke's 15, right? He knows that, right?
Now look, he's got a valid point. If this was a social call, but they're literally just working together. He even goes through this same cycle again later, when Brooke is being interviewed by the host of a show.
Brooke, watch out for that Firestone kid. He's too old for you.
Man, I hate to say it, but the Hulkster's really acting like a jabroni Mark who can't tell the difference between a work and a shoot and is working himself into a shoot, brother.
Oh, hey guys, what's up? You're hot.
Turn the camera off. Turn the camera back towards the home.
Hulk also has a similar feeling about Aaron Carter, which is weird because I think he would have been around Brooke's age at the time. I can make all the jokes in the world, and at this point, well, I might have. But I do want to actually credit Hulk with something here. He's a bizarre, controlling, unintentionally creepy dude, but I don't think you can ever question his love for his children, although it is sometimes questionable. Hulk really does try to put his daughter over big time. He claims her singing career is bigger and more important than anything he's ever done in his own career. And while that is a really surprising, completely ludicrous claim, it is also a selfless statement from one of the most self-centered people. I mean, sure, you could say that it's nepotism, but that's a triumph over narcissism. You know, let's acknowledge the misguided good along with the bad. The thing is that Hulk would have never done the show, or several seasons and a spin-off, if it wasn't for Brooke. As attention-hungry as he was, this was never a vehicle to put himself over. It was an attempt at pushing his daughter into the limelight, utilizing his own name and star power at the expense of his time, energy, and eventually, marriage. There are a couple things about this that I find somewhat noteworthy. There's something vaguely poetic about having the premise of the show start with Hulk having surgery, and having the spin-off series end with Hulk having a surgery. It's full circle. The end is the beginning is the end. While Brooke is adamant about becoming a singer and a star in the music industry, the Hulkster pushes her to become a wrestler, constantly calling her the greatest women's world heavyweight champion, whatever that means.
I was hoping she should be the next heavyweight female champion of the world.
Uh-oh.
She'll be the greatest women's world heavyweight champion ever. Hit the 4-shot in the ab. I think I found my wrestler. I thought you were the heavyweight champion of the world.
I'm not sure how true to real life this is, because I have a hard time believing that Hulk would want his daughter following in his footsteps. The locker rooms for women in wrestling at the time were very different than the locker rooms for men.
My dad makes really good breakfast. He does everything, so he's like Mr. Mom.
No, Brooke, your dad was Mr. Nanny. He wishes he was Mr. Mom. There's a big difference between Suburban Commando and Batman. Most interesting is that during the filming of the show that I've never heard of, there was some crossover with another show, which I've never heard of. A show called Famous Last Names. And I think if I'm truly putting this Knows Best brand to bed finally for good, I may just need to track down that episode and hear what it is that the Hulkster was so hard on her for. How bad could she have been if it caused Brooke's #1 fan to call her out for it?
Nah, we don't have to prep her for the interview. She's just Brooke. You know, she said some dumb stuff, but who cares?
Well, here's to finding out. With that being said, if you like this video and would want to take the very last step in this journey with me, let me know in the comment section below by leaving a comment saying,
Brother, let's on like Donkey Kong.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was V Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds!
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day?
Catch him next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.